This is little me, back in a time long before the World Wide Web and this thing we call Google. These things did not exist. That's how long ago this was, in a time we called the 1980s. Little me had a dream. He wanted to do cool stuff. Cool stuff like flying a rocket. Yes, fly in a rocket and go see the stars. And he knew that if he wanted to do that, he had to learn the cool stuff. Yeah, he had to cram all that stuff into his head so that he could go and do the cool stuff. And in order to do that, little me had to go to this place called school. And he was quite happy to do that. Oh, he had no trouble with that. He wanted to go to school and learn the cool stuff. Even when he learned that school had rules, rules like sit down and shut up. He still wanted to learn the cool stuff because he wanted to do cool stuff. Now, at this place called school, little me got to know Teacher Grinch. And Teacher Grinch had this really, really cool ruler. Oh, it was a metal ruler. It was very precise. And it was so nice to look at. It was a beautiful ruler. And little me never had any trouble with Teacher Grinch, because little me wanted to learn the cool stuff. And as the years progressed, those first years of school, little me was happy. He was very, very happy, always doing his homework, always happy to get to school and learn. And then one day, he did something in math class. He did something that he thought was totally cool. They were busy learning about ratios, and Teacher Grinch told them that ratios are expressed using two dots, and that you can have a number on this side and a number on this side, and that meant something. Little me then thought, hey, but hold on a second. We learned about this thing called fractions, and why can't I go and do this? And Teacher Grinch instantly said, don't use fractions to express ratios. And she took that beautiful, beautiful ruler that she had, and she smacked little me. She smacked little me really, really hard. And no, Teacher Grinch didn't smack him with the flat of that beautiful metal ruler. No, she smacked little me with the edge of that ruler. And it hurt. It really hurt. And I never forgot the rule. Don't use fractions to express ratios. Anyway, so little me kept going, didn't do bad at math, and Teacher Grinch eventually fell out of the picture. Relegated to years gone by. And little me moved on to the big school. Yeah, the big school where he hoped to learn more cool stuff. He never forgot Teacher Grinch and her beautiful ruler, and he made sure to always do his homework and always be good and ready. And even when the other kids called him things like nerd and geek and gay, he never gave up. He kept trying to be as good in school as he could be because he wanted to do the cool stuff. And then one day, another teacher wanted to teach him about this fancy thing, this really cool thing called trigonometry. And oh man, this was hard. This was really, really hard. And little me began to struggle. He began to struggle and think, oh no, I can't do this. This isn't right. What's going on? I'm so good with algebra. I'm so good with geometry. I'm great at those things. What's going on? Why can't I understand this stuff? Maybe I'm dumb. A little bit of a sidetrack. Little me had a little brother. And little me's brother was told that he can't learn. And he must go to a special school because he is dumb. That's round about the same time that little me was trying to understand trigonometry. But life continues. Little brother went to a special school, and little me kept trying to figure out what's going on in big school. And slowly but surely, little me's dreams of doing cool stuff became smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. But he still hoped. He still hoped that there would be something that he could do that would be cool and good for the world. And time progressed, where little me eventually had to go to the big school, where he was hoping to learn about the really, really cool stuff. He was still struggling with math, still couldn't do trigonometry, and barely passed math with enough qualification to go to the big school. And he started thinking, I must be really dumb. I must be really stupid because I can't see what's going on here. This thing called trigonometry, it's got me beat. I can do algebra, I can do geometry, but what is this thing called geometry? This trigonometry, I can't do that. And then disaster struck. Little me's dad got sick, and little me could not carry on at the big school because there wasn't enough of this stuff. There just wasn't enough of that. And because there wasn't enough of that, little me had to make a plan. He had to leave the big school and go to work so that he could help put food on the table at home. So yeah, little me wasn't all that happy, but he did what he had to do. Fortunately, while he was at big school, he learned a little bit about these things called computers. So he sat down and he taught himself this thing called programming. He taught himself that, and not just any programming. He taught himself how to program in C and C++. Now keep in mind, this was in a time before the interwebs and this thing called Google. Those things didn't exist. Little me had to do all of this without any of those fancy things. Anyway, so little me managed to get work. He managed to get work as a programmer. Oh, and all his family said, yo, little me, you must be really freaking smart. You got work as a programmer. And little me was really happy about that because it was fun. It was fun to learn about programming and how to program, and he could get a job with that. And little me went to work, and he managed to get a little bit of this so that he could help his family. And for about 2 years, that's what he did. For the first 2 years that he was working, he was using everything he got to put food on the table for his family. And time passed. Little me eventually arrived at a place where he was working, where they did cool stuff. They did actual cool stuff, like build actual real world computers that did cool stuff like test self-driving cars. And there, at that workplace, little me met Physics Dude. I'll show you Physics Dude now. He met Physics Dude. And Physics Dude was awesome. They became good friends. Little me even went, it was even physics dude's um, best man at his wedding. And they would often talk about this thing called math. And little dude still thought that he was dumb. He still thought, I, I'm not clever. I can't do trigonometry. I can't do calculus. And he was always very sad about this. But he never gave up. He kept going back to the books on the cool stuff, hoping to one day maybe crack something or understand. And then this horrible thing happened. This thing called the world. The world biggest lie. It was a horrible lie. Because some international organization with a lot of power and money, they started saying things like, everybody must stay inside their houses. There's this horrible virus going around and killing people. Horrible virus. Many years later, it would turn out that all of this was one big fat lie. But during this time, the company that little me worked at could not afford to keep all the people that was working there. So they had to let little me go. Little me was very sad about that. But he went and found more work as a freelance developer. Also during this time, little brother came to live with little me, because little brother was always in trouble with money. Not because he committed any crimes or anything like that, but because he never understood it. He never knew what those things on his bank statement meant. He never knew what this meant. And when you asked him what was 10 times 10, he would not be able to tell you. He would guess. Sometimes he'd get like, oh, it's 3,525, and obviously that was wrong. And little me thought that, hey, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe it's because little brother is dumb. But one day, during conversation, little me discovered something absolutely horrific. He discovered that nobody ever taught little brother what the number line is. Nobody ever taught little brother how to read and write numbers. Nobody. Little me thought this was really strange. And he was kind of angry. He was kind of angry about that. So he grabbed some books and he sat down with little brother. And little me taught his little brother about the number line, what numbers are, and about variables. Now, this didn't take long. This was like this little exercise that he did took 4 hours. And they had coffee and they were just chatting. This wasn't a struggle, it was just a talk. And then something very interesting happened. Little brother started doing something really, really difficult. He started doing algebra. And little brother almost burst out in tears. He was sitting in front of little me, crying, because little brother learned something in those 4 hours. He learned he wasn't dumb. He learned he was actually really freaking clever. But that nobody ever took the time to give him the basic information he needed in order to learn that stuff, in order to be able to do it. And little me was very happy, was very proud that he could teach little brother this. And little brother didn't stop there. Oh, no, 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 no. Little brother later went on and he got diplomas. He got 2 diplomas in record time. In record time, he did 2 diplomas that would normally take 18 months. He did 2 diplomas in 4 months because he realized he wasn't dumb. It was all just another lie. Little brother is no longer in debt. He got out of debt. He's no longer struggling. He has money and he still lives with little me. But little brother is now happy. Little brother isn't struggling anymore. Little brother is making a better life for himself. Not long after that, schoolgirl came to little me and she said, "I'm struggling with math. Can you help me?" She was in grade 8. And her end year mark for grade 8 was 40%. Little me spent some time with schoolgirl, and total amount of time that was spent was 24 hours. Total amount of time, 24 hours. And at the end of grade 9, schoolgirl got 88%. 88% in grade 9 when she was failing grade 8. But our story doesn't end there. Oh no, 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 no. Teacher Grinch's metal ruler was still stuck inside little me's head. Oh yeah, there was still a lot of pain and suffering here. But little me kept at it. He kept going back to the books with the cool stuff in it. And every now and again, he would speak to physics dude. And then one day, he sent a piece of paper that he wrote some stuff on. Some math stuff. And little me sent that piece of paper to physics dude, and physics dude said something totally crushing. Trigonometry is ratios. And little dude went, what? What? But trigonometry has fractions. There's opposite over hypotenuse and adjacent over hypotenuse. And those are fractions. They aren't ratios. Metal ruler says they are not ratios. And yeah, something big happened. And little me realized that Teacher Grinch is the reason he could never understand trigonometry. Because he was taught that you cannot use fractions to express ratios. And then things started falling into place. Little me was angry. He was very, very angry because he realized that Teacher Grinch lied. Teacher Grinch lied to him. So, it's many, many years later, and little me now had access to this thing called the internet. And he knew if he tried, he might just discover what it is that he's been missing out on. So, he went and he found this place called Khan Academy. Khan Academy. And he went and did the course on trigonometry. In 2 weeks, little me crushed trigonometry. And he didn't just crush it. Oh, no. No, he did not just crush it. I'll show you what he did. He did this. This is what he did. He killed it in 2 weeks. And little me realized, but hold on a second. I'm not dumb. I'm not dumb. Teacher Grinch and her shiny metal ruler destroyed my dreams. And little me was very angry about this. Oh, he was incredibly angry. Very, very angry. But he also realized, hey, but hold on a second. If Teacher Grinch taught me wrong, what else was I taught wrong? So, little me decided to go and find out. He started using the interwebs and all these fancy new tools that he had his hands on in order to figure out what it is that he has been lied to and lied about. And he kept going on Khan Academy. And he not only crushed it, he went and did Algebra 1. And Algebra 2. And a whole bunch of other stuff. And he did all of it in 3 months. And each and every one he totally crushed. He mastered every single one to the point where he got all of these. I'll show you now. Give me a second. He got prizes. He got badges. He got 6 of the epic badges. Epic badges that you really have to put effort into in order to get them on Khan Academy, and he got all of them. Oh, he not only got them, he totally crushed it. And he did it in 3 months. And little me realized something. He realized schools aren't places where you go to learn cool stuff. No. No. Schools are places where you go to get the soul crushed out of you. Every now and again, he still speaks to physics dude, asking questions and trying to understand what the hell it is that's going on here. And it turns out that little me was actually angry at the wrong person. You see, it is not Teacher Grinch that was the problem, because Teacher Grinch also had to go to the same kind of school that little me had to go to. She also had to go through the same trouble. But little me decided he needs to figure out what's going on here. He needs to figure out why it is that he spent so much of his life thinking that he is dumb, when in fact he has proof that he isn't. And that maybe, just maybe, he could have actually done the cool stuff he wanted to do if somebody bothered to teach him correctly. So little me decided to do a little bit of investigation and try to figure out what it is that is really going on here. And he learned about a very, 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 very shocking thing. He learned about 2 evil monsters that live in his world. One is called Rockadollar, and the other is called Rotten Child. Rotten Dollar and Rotten Child control this thing that we call the school system. Now, there's reasons they want to do that. But yeah, Rotten Dollar, well, Rock Dollar and Rotten Child, they control this thing we call the school system. And they kind of own everything. As in everything. They kind of own the entire world. And they don't care about you or little me wanting to go do cool stuff. Oh no. They really don't care. They don't want you to be able to go do cool stuff, because if you can do cool stuff, then you will not end up working in their factories and their mines and be a slave in their jail. If you can go do cool stuff, this won't happen. But it's even worse, because Rockadollar and Rotten Child know that if you actually understood what things like the equal sign really meant, if you understood that, they wouldn't be able to get you to have wars about things like equality. Because if you understand that, you would know that there's nothing really to fight about. There is no injustice. But no, Rockadollar and Rotten Child want you to fight. They want you to be stuck inside their factories and mines and never be free. But yes, little me learned about this, and he thought, hold on a second, maybe there's a way we can fight back. Maybe there's a way we can change this hell that we are in. Maybe, just maybe, we can change this. So he decided to ignore all this nonsense with Rockadollar and Rotten Child. He decided he's going to do something about this. And he's going to stop being angry and actually do something. So, little me has started making videos that he is putting on this wonderful thing called the World Wide Web. There's a bit of a problem though, because he knows the company he is using in order to publish this video is also controlled by Rotten Dollar and Rotten by Rock Dollar and Rotten Child. So he's a little worried. He is really a little bit worried about whether or not all the work he's doing in order to try and show people that they are not dumb, and that they never actually had the opportunity to even try to be successful with math. and that every single problem they've ever had can be directed right back at the education system. And yeah, little me is worried because he's been making videos and putting them on the interwebs, but nobody's watching, nobody's looking, nobody's paying attention. But little me won't give up. In the same way he didn't give up on trigonometry and calculus and algebra and all that stuff, little me is not going to give up. He's not going to stop speaking about this mess that has been created. He's not going to stop making videos. Even if nobody watches, at least he knows somewhere, somehow, someone might just see and also be interested in doing the cool stuff. And break free of this mess that was caused. And yeah, he's desperately wanting to help people like Little Brother and Skoogel. And he wants to see everybody succeed. He wants to see everybody live their dreams. Even when Rock Dollar and Rotten Child still wants to try and control them. So little me, with the help of the internet, is trying to change this world. He knows he's not going to be successful unless people start paying attention to what it is that he's saying. He knows that until people realize that they have been lied to, and that even the little things like the equal sign and what it really means has never been taught to them correctly. Yeah, until people start paying attention. His voice is just a little voice in the middle of nowhere. But perhaps, perhaps there are other people like Little Brother and Skoogel who can also benefit from what Little Me has discovered. He hopes that people like Little Brother and Skoogel will look at what he has created and realize they are not dumb. They are not stupid. The only problem is they have been lied to, and they have been abused by the education system. Just like Little Me. If you feel like it, come and join me. Come and learn about all the things in math that you've been lied to. Come and learn. You're not dumb. You are not stupid. You are not dumb. You are the victim of the rock dollars and the rotten childs. I'll see you in the episodes. Bye.